Hey guys, so I want to do something a little bit different. I want to go behind the scenes on how I actually manage my finances every time money hits my account. So it's a paycheck plan on what you should do every time you get paid. So let's hop in on my desktop. I'm going to share my screen with you. And then all of these resources are going to be available to you in the description below. Okay, so I understand that I kind of run my paycheck a little bit different than most people. And I've been doing this for a few years now. It tends to work really well for me. I'm not gonna keep this video extra long. So if you have questions, just reach out, drop a comment below. I tend to get to all of my comments. So we start here, this is income and it's through my business and it's a 1099 income. So I'm assuming it's $100. Once that $100 hits my account, two things happen. The first thing is I set money aside to pay my taxes. Now, I'm typically anywhere between a 25 to a 35% tax bracket once I write off all my investments, my expenses and business expenses, etc. But I don't want to give too much money to the IRS where there's money that I could be using for either business growth or marketing and whatnot. So I pay a little bit, but not all of it. I actually pay the actual IRS. Like I don't actually leave it sitting in an account. I actually go in and make the payment. And then the rest goes into my checking account, the business checking account. From there, I actually do go ahead and pay my tithes, which is 10%. Now this doesn't include offering any help or support that anyone needs. This is just tithe. From there, the money gets distributed in a few different ways. So the first thing, it goes into my variable expense account. Now my variable expense account, if you've downloaded my budgeting ebook guide, it actually has all of this and I'll drop a link to it below as well. But the variable expense account covers any expense that is not a fixed cost, okay? So it could be stuff like gas, food, where you kind of have a range and a budget for, but you don't have a specific number, okay? What actually ends up happening to that account is a good portion of it goes into SoFi. From SoFi, I actually do pay my fixed expenses. Now, fixed expenses are things like my rent, my car payments, or any loans, insurance, phone bill, anything that's exactly the same every month. That's where that goes. I pull that money straight out because if it's sitting in this account, my wife and I kind of tend to see it, and like I don't want to have to open up my budget app and let me see what's going on. Like I don't want to do all that. So this is happening almost in real time. When money hits this account, it goes in here. This is just like a vanity number, by the way, guys. So don't look at it too hard. It goes in here. From here, it pays the fixed expenses. Now, a couple of other things that happened is I actually do pay my wife a salary, and then I also pay my daughter. A couple of other things that end up happening here is some of this money goes into my brokerage account, which is an investment account. And then it goes into 4 different types of investments, okay? And then from there, there's actually 4 more outflows that happen. The first one is short-term savings. So if me or my wife are saving up for something like fixing something at the house or to upgrade our car, if we wanna go on a trip, that is where the short-term saving goes. The emergency savings is 6 months of cash expenses. If you have my guide, you know exactly what the recommendation is. If you live by yourself and you have a very solid job, you can kind of get away with, a month to 3 months. If you're a dad and you have a family and maybe you're in sales or some type of inconsistent income, then what you want to do is you want to increase that, I would say around 6 months minimum. Once this is full, then you just can put something here if you have a goal to save for. If not, then the money can stay in this account and we do something else with it. The next thing is actually long-term saving. So long-term saving, I end up doing 2 things with. The first one is if we want to do something that's like very big, maybe we want to upgrade our house and it's going to be $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. That is beyond short-term. Short-term to me is like in the next 45 to 60 days. So typically this will hit an amount, of course, and then it won't move anymore. This will hit an amount, really won't move anymore. This continues growing. Now the long-term saving can either be 2 things. It's a personal expensive thing that we want to purchase and we've talked about. If it's not, then what it ends up happening is a long-term purchase that we want to make. So right now, for instance, we're saving to buy another rental property. So the money comes in from my income, goes into the business checking account, flows into the variable expense account, and then kind of makes its way all the way down here. This is all based on a couple of different triggers and amounts. And I will show you guys that in this next tab that I have here, where I kind of have all these balances outlined and different formulas executed here. But I do this about once a month, sometimes maybe on the 1st and the 15th, but typically at least once a month. I adjust the balances as needed. The other thing that I do with this is from my income, I actually do end up paying my wife and my daughter a salary. Now, I do that for 2 reasons. The first one is a tax write-off. So here in the state of Florida, my daughter can make up to $14,000 and pay 0 taxes. So all that really means is that my business gets a $14,000 write-off, and then similar goes for my wife. Now, they actually do help with the business to the equivalent of what their salary is. The money that gets paid out to my wife goes into her bank account, and she actually manages, and she can actually do stuff with, if she wants to go out and do something at Starbucks or whatever. She doesn't need to call me and ask me if there's money in the account, or she doesn't need to log in. She kind of just has freedom to do that. My daughter, it is going into a savings account, and that we're saving ultimately for college, but what this is going to end up being is it's going to be an investment, and then the funds from that investment, the dividends or whatnot, that will be what actually funds her college, or when she turns 18. There's 2 more things that happens when I get paid. This 1099, as anyone who's 1099 knows, it's kind of hit and miss, like it's not consistent. I do work as the head of marketing for a company, and I do make a salary there. The salary, automatically, there's a percentage that gets deducted and goes into my 401k. And then obviously the remainder goes into my tithes as well. And you can kind of see how that is split up. 70% goes into variable expenses, 20% goes into my 401k, 10% goes into tithes. If you guys want and need to build something like this, I'm happy to help you do so. But let me show you how this actually runs, practically. So there is a couple of different things here. These are just random numbers, by the way, but you can put in what your prior balance is. So you can just duplicate this sheet. Let's call it October 1st. So if this is the balance that you have in your specific accounts, and this is what I actually use for my accounts. This is Chase, 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 and Chase, and Chase. So all 5 of these are Chase. This is taxes. So I pay quarterly, put the money sits in that account, and every quarter gets paid to the IRS. And then we have the personal checking account, which is the variable expenses, personal savings, short-term, M1 saving, long-term, SoFi, fixed expenses, M1 investing is the brokerage account. So what you do is you put in your income in here. So let's assume I made 5,000 on here and 4,000 W2. You can tweak the cadence if you want. So let's assume you make that every month. This is assuming it's weekly, but if we assume it is weekly, then and you want to kind of budget once a month, then you just adjust this to monthly. It'll change all the numbers for you. So based on all of these formulas, and you guys can tweak the formula as much as you want, what I really want to see here for me is how much money do I have to play with? So my business account, there's going to be about $16,000 for taxes. I'm going to allocate 20. And if you want to allocate more, you just put a 25 there. You'll need to reduce some of the other numbers to make sure that the math adds up. And then for tithes, 10,000. So, or 10%, sorry, 10,000. And then it kind of continues flowing down. So how much money do I want to put inside of my variable account? Well, I want to put a percentage of the payroll that gets paid to me and to my wife. Now I just put these numbers in here, but now I just put in these vanity numbers. These aren't actual numbers. I don't have $1,900 saved for emergencies. And if you take a look at how some of these formulas are broken up, my variable and fixed account, this is a percentage of our income. That's where it's pulling this money from, and I'll show you guys here in a second. Investing, it's a percentage of the income as well. So this right here, the investing field, is calculated based on, do I have enough money for my emergencies? And then what is the salary coming in? So 3,000, well, that plus the month, of course, which is 16,000 in W2 income, then that's the amount of money we have for investing. Same thing goes for the expense account. Has the same setup. So the variable expense, for instance, it's going to include this W2, and then it's also going to include a portion of the salary times a specific number. So in my case, times 0.04 times 0.04, and this right here is 0.02. So we have 40%, 40%, and then the remainder 20% goes here. Here's how it's broken up. This 401k money automatically gets deducted from this. So that is how this is kind of happening. I hope that makes sense, guys. The emergency account, if there's enough money in there, this will be set to 0 and funds will be allocated somewhere else. And I can show you that. So I'm going to take the emergency saving, which actually goes into this account, and let's call it prior balance, I don't know, $75,000. So that's it, guys. Every time your paycheck hits, you should have some sort of system. You should have some sort of game plan so you're not completely lost every time money hits the account. If you have questions on how to put something together, shoot me a DM. I'd love to connect with you. Hope you have a great day.